Hey guys, how's it going? It's Forrest from the Darker Side podcast, except this is Getting Lost in the Forest, also known as GLITF. And let me repeat it one more time, just in case you guys didn't get it, because some of you can't speak acronyms. GLITF. Getting Lost in the Forest. So today, I'm going to go right into it. I have a lot of anger. I'm extremely upset with this country, with the voters who put in our chambers of government in the Senate and Congress, who re-elected such unconstitutional and illegal practicing politicians in our current government right now, and now we're all paying for it, and people just don't want to admit it. Okay, admit it or acknowledge it or even see that anything's currently happening because they just want to be neglectful and think life's all full of, pretty flowers and butterflies. Hey guys, we are back with Getting Lost in the Forest, also known as GLITF. If you want to contact me, I'm on Facebook as GLITF. If you want to contact my email, my personal email, I am gettinglostintheforest@gmail.com. You can also email me on our DCP network. I believe it's a dcpnetwork@gmail.com. And if that doesn't work, then you can just email me on Facebook. You can also email me on my other email for the Darker Side podcast, which is just the darkersidepodcast@gmail.com. And I want to thank you all for listening and following me on my new podcast, same segment from the Darker Side podcast, except new podcast, because I will not be on the Darker Side podcast as a segment anymore. Don't get confused. I am still on the goddamn show, so don't worry about it. I love the Darker Side podcast. I love you, David. I love you, Herman. I love you, Rachel Pottle. I love all you, and I can't wait to be on your episode tomorrow. Okay, moving forward. As you guys all know, we are kind of living in a time where things are a little bit darker for a small, I wouldn't say a small amount, but people would say a small amount of people in this country, so like minorities, although I call them a majority minority because, let's face it, there's way more LGBT in this country than people think, or what studies prove. Article was published Thursday, July 12th, 2018 by LGBTQ Nation. You can also Google this article type, and I'm sure you'll find a few articles. There's not going to be much because our media is not really talking about LGBT problems right now, or for the last 10 years. I saw this article the other day, and I thought it was just one of those old articles that were resolved, and it just starts to trend again, and it was published a couple years ago. And I opened it up and I saw the date and I was like, well, fuck me, man. I guess this is really happening. And I knew it was going to happen. My friends and family didn't think it would happen, but it's happening. And it's bullshit. And I have a lot of anger. I'm a tax-paying, hardworking American, just like everybody else. We all work hard. And, I just think it's not that hard to ask for basic rights and protections in all 50 states, which is still not granted in about 2/3 of this country. So, moving forward, the House Appropriations Committee on Wednesday passed an amendment allowing taxpayer-funded adoption agencies to deny LGBTQ families the ability to adopt a child based on religious objection. The amendment appears on a funding bill for the Departments of Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education. If it remains in the final bill, the amendment would cut 15% of federal adoption funding to states and localities that penalize adoption agencies that refuse to place children in families that conflict with the agency's, quote, sincerely held religious beliefs or convictions. The amendment also bars the federal government from refusing to work with adoption agencies that discriminate. Now, let me repeat that last one. The amendment also bars the federal government from refusing to work with adoption agencies that discriminate. The vote in the committee passed 29-23 along party lines, with Representative Scott Taylor, Republican from Virginia, the lone Republican to vote against the amendment. Well, good for that guy. House Republicans are pandering to their far-right base at the expense of LGBTQ people and children in need of a home, said Democratic National Committee, DNC LGBTQ Media Director Lucas Acosta. Quoting, rather than focusing on empowering families or uniting children with their parents, Republicans on the House Appropriations Committee voted to give child welfare agencies a license to discriminate against qualified potential parents. Acosta added, across the country, LGBTQ candidates are running for office and taking a stand against the Trump GOP agenda, even though that's a mixed bag because the GOP fights against Trump and then all of us Americans pay for it and it's not them. Continuing on, which seeks to roll back the process we have made. In November, voters will stand together in the face of this bigotry and hate and elect Democrats up and down the ticket, if this country so chooses to. Who knows what's going to happen in this re-election? I think there's more people who's probably willing to elect Democrats now than there are Republicans, but I mean, I think we really need to start looking for more parties or a complete reform of our whole government. Or we overthrow our government, one or the other. Like all of us Americans come together and we overthrow our government. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to go against any kind of Americans. We're all Americans here. Let's be real. We're all adults. So let's just grow up and, face the reality of how America is right now. And it's bullshit. Now, this is where things get crazy. In addition to LGBTQ people and same-sex couples, the amendment would also impact interfaith couples, single parents, married couples in which one prospective parent has previously been divorced, or other qualified parents to whom an agency could have an objection. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this sounds like this is coming right from the Bible, which, once again, unconstitutional, un-American, and people who make these laws should already be locked up by now. But you don't see the Republican Party really talking about that anyway, so who cares? A big barrier to placing children with families is a lack of qualified prospective parents. Having the government give contractors and subcontractors a license to discriminate, thereby limiting the pool of prospective parents for no legitimate reason, is unconscionable and an unacceptable use of taxpayers' dollars. This is what I tell everybody. I don't care where I am, whether I'm at work or I'm in personal at home. It's a waste of the taxpayers' dollars. We've been fighting this fight since like the 1890s when it came to bringing religious freedom to the courts. And I think that this is utter bullshit because it's 2018. I mean, when I die, like 50 or 60 years from now, I hope, we don't go to nuclear war and we all die, or something from the planet happens. Who knows? And then we got the space armor going on. It's a waste of the taxpayers' dollars. That's all I can fucking say. And I feel bad for people who live down south who are affected by religious laws, who can't move out of their fucking state because it's easier said than done. I'm quoting, any member of Congress who supports this amendment is clearly stating that it is more important to use them to discriminate than it is to find loving homes for children in need, said David Stacy, Director of Government Affairs at the Human Rights Campaign, HRC. And I quote, continuing, Congress should be focusing on ways to help children in the child welfare system find homes rather than creating needless obstacles for prospective parents, effectively shrinking the pool of qualified folks who want to provide children with a loving home. HRC urges Congress to reject this discriminatory amendment in the final appropriations bill. Let me repeat that last, 3 words. Final appropriations bill. It's 2018, folks. It's going to be 2019 in about, 6 to 9 months? This is bullshit. HRC recently released a report disregarding the best interests of the child, license to discriminate in child welfare services, detailing the harm of efforts to write anti-LGBTQ discrimination by child welfare agencies into law. Statistics suggest that an estimated 2 million LGBTQ adults in the U.S. are interested in adoption, but the LGBTQ community often remains an untapped resource when it comes to finding families for children and youth in foster care. I'm quoting, taxpayers' dollars should never be used to promote discrimination against any American, LGBTQ, or otherwise. Even though it seems like people of faith and religion have the upper hand and will always have the upper hand, which is right now unconstitutional and it's un-American and it's illegal. And why isn't our government being prosecuted for it? I don't know. Why isn't anybody talking about this? Maybe I'm crazy. I don't fucking know. Continuing on, taxpayer dollars should never be used to promote discrimination against any American, LGBTQ or otherwise, said Casey Sifredini, president of strategy at Freedom for All Americans. It's shocking to see some lawmakers willing to hurt not only LGBTQ Americans, but vulnerable children waiting for forever homes. Now, we all know how the system is, and if you don't know how the fucking foster care system is, then you got to go do some research. I'm not kidding. This is just the latest example that discrimination against LGBTQ Americans is real, urgent, and a detriment to all Americans, and should be cured by federal comprehensive protections as soon as possible. 9 states already have laws on the books that allow child welfare agencies receiving taxpayer funding to discriminate against LGBTQ youth and families. Consist of Alabama, Kansas, Michigan, Mississippi, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Texas, and Virginia. 5 of these bills have passed in the last 2 years. According to data from the Family Equality Council's Every Child Deserves a Family campaign, more than 21,000 youth were awaiting adoption in these states. A hearing is scheduled for Thursday, July 12th in Dumont versus Lyon, a challenge to Michigan's law that allows state-funded adoption agencies to cite religion as a reason for turning away foster parents or adoptive parents based on their sexual orientation, which is something that doesn't really affect anybody. Research consistently shows that LGBTQ youth are overrepresented in the foster care system, as many have been rejected by their families or of origin because their LGBTQ status, and are especially vulnerable to discrimination and mistreatment while in foster care. Duh. I mean, this is something that, is, you put 2 and 2 together. It's just, lots of molestation and rape and all that bad shit. And neglect. This type of amendment will only exacerbate these challenges faced by LGBTQ youth. Now, I'm just, I don't know what to say for this. I think it's horrible. And me, as someone who is getting married, whether you like it or not, works hard, pays his taxes, got a family to look out for still. My family gets smaller and smaller, it seems like every year. My blood family. And things are just tough right now. They're tough, and I just want to say to all the LGBT out there, youth, old, middle, I don't give a fuck. All you guys out there, you know what? We're going to have to start fighting for ourselves, because nobody else is going to fend for our rights and our basic rights and protections that we still don't have in more than half of this country, which is fucking bullshit. This country, while other countries are moving forward, we're staying the same. In fact, we're almost still in the 50s and 60s at this point. It shouldn't just be the LGBT community talking about these issues. But you know what? I think it's sad that, we have our allies, but it seems like nowadays our allies are getting smaller and smaller as more truths seem to come out of other people's mouths. I love you guys. I just want to say you guys are amazing. I hope you guys are having an awesome weekend. And thanks for listening to me. You can find me on Facebook as GLITF. You can find me pretty much music-wise. You can find me on Google Play, iTunes Podcast. Sooner or later, I'll be on Spotify. I'm on Podbean. Soon, I'm going to be on SoundCloud. Soon. And then maybe a little bit more to come. We'll see. But I love you guys. Have an awesome day. Stay strong. Rise above it. Don't kill yourself. Please stay hydrated. Work hard. Pay your taxes, in this shit country. And I love you all. Have an awesome weekend. Thank you.
Kansas and Oklahoma recently introduced bills that allow LGBT parents to be turned away for adoption. As an LGBT parent yourself, what message do you have for those states?
As an LGBT parent and as a former social worker, there are so many children that need love and support. And for you to deny them on the basis of ignorance and hate, and to say that an LGBT parent couldn't give the same amount of love and support that a straight parent gives, shame on you. This is a new day, and those children are aging out of the system without getting the proper resources and love that they need. And it's up to us as adults, as people who are in positions of policy making, to say if children are in need, we should never turn our backs.
We at Extraordinary Families and at agencies around the country have demonstrated through our commitment of our LGBT foster and adoptive parents that the outcomes for the children who are adopted by these families are as good, if not better, in some situations, than families that are raised by traditional families.
And how do people get involved with the work that you're doing?
They can get involved by becoming foster parents, by adopting children in foster care, by serving as mentors, also providing the opportunity to hire foster youth. Unfortunately, that there are thousands of youth who emancipate from foster care every year without the permanency and support of a family. And so folks who aren't necessarily ready to take the step to be foster or adoptive parents can simply hire some of our extraordinary kids that are emancipating from foster care.
What's something that LGBT parents provide that no one else can provide as parents?
A level of acceptance and affirmation that's really profound.